Hello friend, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Alyssa and I'm an American living in Italy. Today's video is another episode in my series where I interview other expats about their life and experiences living abroad. And I have the privilege of interviewing my good friend Francesca. She is a foodie, she has an amazing food blog that I will link below. She loves cooking, baking, eating. She's a lot of fun, and I thought today's interview would be fun to film in her kitchen while she's baking up something delicious. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive into the interview. Okay, everyone, we're here in, like flashing it. I know it's short. Hi, everyone, we're here in Francesca's kitchen. This is Francesca, and we're gonna bake something together. I don't even know what we're baking.
Should I tell you what we're baking?
Yeah.
Okay, we're baking a ricotta pound cake. I just came back from Sicily where I had cannoli and a lot of things with ricotta. So I kind of had in my head to make something with ricotta, and this is kind of a nice buttery pound cake with ricotta as the main ingredient, and it's really nice with strawberries for spring.
Nice.
Yeah,
and the weather here in Rome is getting warmer.
very warm. In fact, it's t-shirt weather today.
Tank top for me.
Yeah, tank top weather for you.
Okay, great. So can you tell us where you're from?
I'm from Rhode Island, which is the smallest state in the US. And I've been living in Rome for 13 years, so since 2011. So a very long time. Actually, when I say it out loud, it's a very long time.
Have you been living in Rome only for all that time, or?
I've been living in Rome for that whole time, yeah.
Okay, and before that you lived in Bologna?
Before that, I lived in Bologna for my third year of university. So I did like my study abroad year in Bologna, and then went back to the US, graduated college, and then immediately moved back to Italy, but to Rome that time, or this time. So
Okay.
yeah. And then
I need to check the recipe.
okay. All right. Let's see. And this is a brand of ricotta that's like supermarket brand, but I actually really like it. Of all the ricottas I've tried, that's not from anything too fancy. I mean, you can use something nicer, but at the end of the day, it's going into a cake, so it's not the main ingredient. So that's all of our butter. There it goes. So we have 1.5 cups of sugar. There's also some vanilla beans in there. Sugar. They kind of like dry out, and it's a lot.
So what inspired you to move abroad initially? Was it just study abroad, or have you always wanted to?
Okay, so let's see. I'll try and make this answer short. So basically, I have Italian origins, I guess you could say. So my grandparents are from Italy. They're from Calabria. And so I have a lot of relatives still living in Italy, like mostly like second cousins, great aunts and uncles. So I met them for the first time in 2003 when I first went to Italy, and that was kind of the first time I was ever exposed to like another side of the family I didn't know, and like a language that I wanted to learn but didn't speak. So I kind of got interested in Italy that way, like through my family and like heritage, and started studying Italian in high school, and then just got really interested in the language from there. Majored in Italian, very useful. Majored in Italian in college, also Spanish, more useful. And then did a year abroad in Bologna, my third year of college. And then once I graduated, knew I wanted to come back to Italy, so won something called the Fulbright Scholarship that sent me back to Italy, but to Rome this time instead of Bologna. And then I did a year teaching English through the scholarship in 2 high schools, and then from there I just kind of stayed because I've always been able to find work. And I've just always been kind of happy here, so kind of like until I'm not happy here, I think I'll stay. But so and that's been 13 years.
And you're still happy here?
Yeah, I'm still happy here. Well, it depends on the day, but yeah, mostly. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. How were you able to move abroad? Did you start with a study visa, or can you talk about the bureaucracy side of things like that?
I can, because I have an Italian passport.
Okay.
So I can't, but so I'm very lucky that I have the Italian passport. However, I do know a lot of people that have to do the whole, obviously, visa route to live here.
Have you always had an Italian passport?
I got my Italian passport in 2011, so like the year that I moved here. But when I was a student, like when I moved here more permanently, but when I was a student, I had to get the permit to stay, which is the permesso di soggiorno in Italian. which is saying that you're here studying as a student and why you're here, and so you're here legally and stuff. So I do remember going to it's called the questura, to do that whole thing, the whole procedure. It was a long time ago now, but I remember it was very crowded and it was very, it's very disorganized. And I don't have that many memories of the day except for that it was a long line. But I do remember there was someone that was working there that saw that I had an Italian last name, or Italian name, first and last, and was like curious. So they're like, you can skip the line, which I don't know how much I agree with. But I do remember it was a long day, so it could have been longer. And so I did that. But other than that, I have the passport, which I got through my grandparents, or through my grandmother, because she, unlike my grandfather, she never gave up her Italian. She never gave her Italian citizenship or Italian passport.
She didn't naturalize when they moved to
Right. So whereas my grandfather, gave up his passport, and I don't remember the circumstances or the reasons why he did that. So, but in any case, I got it through her, and with a lot of help from my relatives in Calabria that would go to the comune or the city hall to gather the documentation we needed. So if you do have that route to get a passport, which not most people don't, but if you do have that, it is possible. And I'm sure there's a ton of guidelines and stuff about it online, but it's a great thing to have.
Yeah.
So I can't speak too much about the visa stuff, unfortunately.
No, but that's good.
Good for me, but it's not so helpful for others. But yeah.
You seem to have always loved learning languages since you majored in it.
Yes.
But do you have any tips for learning a new language, or was it hard to learn Italian? Can you talk about learning new languages?
So one thing I would say, I was talking about this actually to a friend the other day. I think I don't want to discourage people. I think if I knew when I started learning Italian, if I knew what a long road it was going to be and how big a language is, I probably would have been pretty intimidated. So in the idea of having to learn a new language from scratch, actually knowing what I know, having learned Italian and being really comfortable in it, I think it can be pretty daunting. So I think there's the first thing is a language is a huge thing, and there's all different kind of aspects to it, whether it's going to be in the workplace or going to be I don't know, even restaurant Italian, or I don't know, even for me, if I take my dog to the vet, I find I learn new vocab. So it's just such a huge thing. So I think you have to maybe don't concentrate on that so much, but just know it's it will take a while just to be patient with yourself. There's even in English, there's probably things that we don't know, or words we don't know or don't use. But I would say probably one thing I learned to do pretty early on was to not worry too much about making mistakes or making a fool of myself, because if you're going to learn, you have to talk, you just have to speak, you just have to do it, and you'll make mistakes, but then you'll learn from them. So not be too shy, and also I feel like the sort of base in my Italian I learned living in Bologna. So I think probably, and a lot of that was having friends that were Italian. So I had one friend in particular, my friend Gloria, we're still friends 15 years later, but she was a really close friend that whole year, and I feel a lot of my Italian I learned from her, but also making mistakes with her, and she was actually really patient to even I even think nowadays, why did you want to be my friend? My Italian was really basic at the time. But I think also, not being afraid to speak, and then also making friends and taking the opportunities to speak whenever you can, and not being too shy. That's of course easier said than done.
That's a good tip, though. I'm too shy.
No, you're not. I don't know if this is useful or interesting, but vanilla extract is hard to find here.
Bring it from America.
Yes, exactly. That's what I do.
I have a list of things.
Me too. And I actually had a friend visit recently. Well, my friend I was with in Sicily, and he brought me, without me asking, 2 things of vanilla. So it's very nice of him. All right, let me just add this.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about what it's like making friends in a new country? You're super outgoing and an extrovert. You could tell them how we met.
We did, yeah. Well, okay, let's start with how we met. So this is how you make friends in Italy. So Alyssa and I live in the same neighborhood, and basically she's walking her adorable dog Lily, which if you follow her, you definitely know who Lily is. She's amazing and wonderful. And I had seen this really beautiful, cute dog around the neighborhood, and I was like, who is this dog? So I stopped Alyssa to ask her what kind of dog she was, and I asked her in Italian, and she answered, and I detected a hint of American. I said, wait, there's another American amongst us. And so then, yeah, so basically just became friends because I started a conversation about her dog. I also have a dog that I'm obsessed with. But generally, I mean, I think making friends as an adult is hard. I mean, in any country. I guess if you move abroad, if you're not meeting friends kind of like through work and stuff like that, or in your neighborhood randomly like I did, there are a lot of actually really good resources for expats that move here. There's some Facebook groups and other groups like that, and you kind of see that there are a lot of people here that are looking to make friends and to kind of get to know people, because I think it can be a little bit lonely when you first move to any new place, especially a foreign country. So I guess that would be the one I would, apart from kind of talking to anyone and everyone, there are definitely groups and people that are also looking to make friends and looking for the same things. So that would be, I think, my advice there. Yeah, but it is hard making friends as an adult. I think that's a common problem.
Can you tell us your experiences of being a young female abroad? And like if you feel safe in Rome or in Italy?
For sure. I generally feel that Rome is a safe city. There have been very few times here where I haven't felt safe. I will say, like, I think this is something we've noticed and we've talked about, Alyssa, is like kind of, maybe it's like a post-pandemic thing. There have been, I don't know, things have been feel a little bit rougher sometimes. There have been a few instances where I think maybe just a bit of a spike in mental health and things like that, or people that'll kind of be on the streets. Not to say I don't feel safe, but yeah, I do feel there's a different dynamic in the city the past couple of years. But generally, I think Rome is quite a safe city, and yeah, in 13 years, I can probably count on one hand the number of times I've felt threatened or unsafe. So generally, I think it's safe and it's good to travel in, especially if you're a woman traveling by yourself.
Also, comparing, just America's not the safest country either. So.
It's not the safest country either. I guess it kind of depends on where you're coming from as well. If you're judging like safety and yeah, I mean, I guess in the U.S. that's a whole different matter. That's more like gun control. But yeah, exactly. I don't know if you want to get into that. It's a whole other topic. Yeah, yeah. Cute. Let me see how it ends up. Oh. Yeah, let me see how it ends up being. Because I think this is supposed to be for 9 days. Yeah, someone gave this to me years ago. I think probably must be like 9 years ago now when I started working with them.
What are some of your favorite parts about living here in Rome or in Italy? And like, do you have any favorite spots people should know about?
So probably my favorite thing is the food, which is maybe not that surprising if I have a food blog. But one of my favorite things is that you can generally go out for a meal, eat really well, everything across the board, good quality, and not spend that much. And I just feel like the standards for food and eating out and things like that are a bit higher here. And there have been also a lot of like foods and ingredients that I've been exposed to living here. Like in Rome, for example, artichokes are really big, like the capricciolo in Italian. And right now it's artichoke season, so you'll see them prepared all different ways. And like that's an ingredient I kind of learned to cook with since I've been here. Also like learned how to make fresh pasta since I've been living here, which is not something I probably would have learned otherwise. So I definitely enjoy the food. And also just walking around Rome is just so beautiful. There are always, even if you've had a bad day or things have been difficult or like bureaucratic, you can always look around and it's just really beautiful just such a beautiful place to live. I hate driving, so I love not having to have a car. Like the public transport here works like, well, the buses maybe not so well, but generally you can get around public transport. And what else do I love? I mean, there's just so many different neighborhoods to explore. There's always things going on, like if you like different art exhibitions or museums, whatever you're into, you can probably find something to go see. So it's very lively as a city.
What's your favorite restaurant, if you had to pick one?
Oh my goodness, don't put me on the spot. Okay, let's see, you put me on the spot. Probably my favorite place to eat, which is not, it's a pizzeria in Seu, which is in Trastevere. and years ago, and they do kind of these like creative pizzas, and it's thicker crust, so more like Neapolitan style pizza, and it's just delicious. And the fritti, so in Italy when you go to a pizzeria, usually you have like typically like a fried appetizer before your pizza, and so which are called fritti, so those are also exceptional. They also do like dessert pizzas, which are really good. So Sei is definitely up there. Oh goodness. Other than that, I also really like, gosh, I'm trying to think which one. I also really like Trecca, which is in sort of near like the Sao Paulo area, which is very rustic Roman, and they're also super nice there, so that helps. But yeah, I could also give you a whole other list. But those are the two I'll say for now. Okay, this will take a while to cook.
Okay.
It's got a little bit.
So what are some things you miss from America, your home country?
What are some things that I miss? I mean, there's kind of the basic silly things, which are like bagels, good donuts. I've learned to make both of those things, but also sometimes you don't feel like making donuts from scratch, like, and it kind of takes some time, and so you kind of just want like a good donut or like something like that. Mm-hmm. So they're little kind of silly food things. And there are certain foods that over the years, like, I've learned that when I first moved here I couldn't find, and now I can find, so that's nice. Like cheddar cheese or stuff like that. But yeah, there's just some things that you can't get here, so food would definitely be one of them. Little food things.
I don't think they're little.
I mean, bagels are pretty big deal.
Well, yeah, no, but and I always miss Mexican food, yes, or like really good taco or Chinese
also that
food.
And you can find those restaurants here, but generally if you go out to eat, it's like
not the same.
Roman food. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like the same menu all the time, which is like carbonara, and these things are done really well.
Yeah.
But maybe you don't want that night.
Well, and like for foodie, like we're both foodies.
We are.
I feel like that's not a little thing.
It's a big thing. Okay, good. Thank you for that's very validating and affirming.
Yeah.
So food things. And then the other thing that I'll say, which is like, I mean, it just kind of it's a more serious thing, but it just like salaries here obviously are not as high as they are in the US. I mean, of course, cost of living is a little bit lower here. But I think that in terms of like professional opportunities, if you move here to stay here, most of the time it's just that you're going to have less opportunities career-wise, and then it comes down to more like your priorities. Like, do I want a career? Or do I want to have like a different lifestyle than I would have in the U.S.? Mm-hmm. So things like that. I would say like maybe there is always a bit of me that wonders like, oh, what are the opportunities I would have maybe had in the U.S. had I stayed, or could still have, I guess, but yeah, those are the two things. So very different end of the spectrum, like bagels and salary. But
was there a cultural difference or anything that you noticed to be different that was initially difficult to accept?
Yes, well, a couple things that I noticed. Well, two like small things. Actually, no, I have a couple, but anyways, I'll start with these. Flip-flops. When I first moved to Italy, I wore flip-flops all the time because I mean, we're talking 2009, so when I was a student, and in the US you wear flip-flops like even, maybe they don't anymore, but back in the day. Do they?
No, I was just looking back at my pictures of my first time in Rome, and I'm wearing flip-flops in every picture.
So in the US, like even thank you, yeah, perfect. So even in November we would wear flip-flops, right? You're like, my feet aren't going to be cold. So I remember wearing flip-flops here, and it was seen as weird because like the weather was too cold for that. And then also you are living in a city, so it's kind of gross to have your feet exposed. So those were two things I got called out very quickly for wearing flip-flops, and I stopped that. The other thing I noticed, or I remember learning, is like leaving the house with wet hair was a big no-no, like even in the summer. Italians have this kind of thing where like if your hair is like cold and wet and it's against your neck, then that'll hurt your neck. Then you'll get something called cervicale. It's a whole other thing, which is like pain of the neck. And there's a lot of these kind of...
I just thought they thought it would make you sick.
Also, exactly. Or you get a cold or something.
Yeah.
And they also kind of tend to dress more according to the season rather than the temperature.
Mm-hmm.
So...
like the calendar.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, if it's March out, but if it's March and it's warm out, they'll wear like clothes that you'd wear for like late winter, early spring, like a scarf and a jacket, even if it's hot out. Whereas I think we're more like, oh well, we'll wear
like
a t-shirt.
I'm wearing a tank top.
Exactly.
But everyone outside is
they're very covered.
Leather coats and scarves, and I'm like, it's so hot.
It is, yeah. It's very warm out. So there's kind of that. And then the other thing I learned, which again I don't really want to generalize, but you've probably noticed it too. is that Italians have less of a filter than Americans. They're more likely to tell you like exactly what they think when they're thinking it, whereas I think Americans are more like how's my hair? Like, oh, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
Whereas Italians will say like, it looked better yesterday. So it is a cultural difference. But yeah, those are some things I've learned. Yeah.
Do you feel like you've become more direct because of living here for so long?
That's a good question. I feel like I'm more quick to, not like quick to anger, but if like someone on the street does something that I don't like or on a bus or whatever, I'm more likely to respond, which is a very Roman thing.
Yeah.
Like if someone, like rather than just be like, oh no, it's fine, I'm more quick to like respond, which I think is a Roman thing. Or like if something happens or there's an interaction that's kind of unpleasant, rather than just like letting it go, I'm more likely to interact, which I should
yell about it.
Yeah. But I think no, my filter is still pretty in place. Yeah.
Okay. What are your plans for the future, and like, do you see yourself living in any other places abroad?
The idea of living somewhere else would, I think, be kind of scary because I've been living in Rome for so long, but I wouldn't be against either. I think that I've acquired a lot of experience here in terms of like adapting to new situations or meeting new people that I think I would be fine in a different country. So on one hand, it would scare me to go live somewhere else. On the other hand, I think it would be kind of cool and interesting. And
what kind of places would you
probably somewhere in Europe. So just something close to Italy, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you could go back and give yourself advice before moving abroad, what would it be?
It's a good one.
Okay. You still doing it?
Yeah, it's okay.
You're good.
I feel like it's actually what I really think about. My sister. Probably to be less afraid all the time. Because when I first moved here, I felt like I was really anxious and afraid of everything, and actually it's sometimes nice to see things rather as something scary, just as like a new opportunity. So I feel like I was really nervous before I moved here. The first even year I was here, I was like really timid and really just kind of anxious about a lot of things, and generally things have a way of working themselves out. So maybe just to have less fear and just kind of just be a bit more fearless.
Oh, I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, I was really shy.
I always look at you as so outgoing.
No, I had no friends. Yeah, I had no friends my first year. Yeah. You can put that in.
Do you have any final words of wisdom for other people who might be thinking about moving abroad or navigating expat life?
For sure. So the first thing, I said this to someone recently who is considering moving here, and there are different aspects in terms of like housing and a job and whatever. But you can always move back if you don't like it. So I really do think that if you have it in your head that you want to move to Rome or live in Italy or like have an experience abroad, that you should just go for it and do it, because nothing's really permanent. And if you don't like it, then you just move back, no? Mm-hmm. But I would encourage anyone that wants to do it to consider it. And also, it's not permanent, and I think also even nowadays with like the fact that you have a smartphone and all this information is kind of right there for you, all these different blogs and people that have lived here, it actually makes moving here pretty easy. There's more information than I think there was back in the day. So when I first moved here, it's like this, they had like a flip phone.
All right, where can people find you?
Okay, so I have my food blog, which is pancakesandbiscotti.com, and I'm also on Instagram under the same handle, Pancakes and Biscotti. So you can see my recipes and photos, and also just food that I eat in Rome and in Italy. You can find all of that there.
And your dog Nina.
And my dog Nina, exactly. She's around here somewhere, yeah.
And I'll link everything about Francesca down below. So thank you.
Thank you. This was fun.
Thanks for watching.
Yay.
Bye.